Hello everybody, my name is Craig Bennett, and today I'm going to get into a cybersecurity video and a QA video. And this one is going to get into how to see if you're dealing with a DDoS attack within your logs, and also how to protect yourself against them in the future, or how to deal with them at current standing. Now, because of the price of some of these solutions, I'm going to say the first part of this is going to be more for the residential people. The latter is going to be for enterprise and everybody else. So with that one in mind, what is a DDoS? I'm assuming that you really know the basics of what an IP address is and whatnot. But basically what a DDoS is where a single device or many devices, normally many devices, are trying to attack a given IP address by trying to connect to it over and over and over and over. We're talking about hundreds of times, thousands of times, even tens of thousands of times per second. And what this does is overload the networks, hardware, software-wise, and it either completely prevents legitimate traffic from going through, or slows it down to a extreme point. Now, where I've seen this in the enterprise world is where one company, and keep in mind all of this is actually illegal, but where one company will do a DDoS attack against a competitor, and what would end up happening is the competitor, their stuff will slow down to a critical point. If it takes more than 3 seconds for a website to load, then people tend to switch. Or what would end up happening is the competitor that they'll DDoS it to the point where no one can get into it. So everybody won't have a choice besides going to your company to shop or do whatever. This is fairly important to note. Again, it's highly illegal, and you're really not going to see it all that often outside of games and stuff like that. You see it more in the game industry because a lot of people who run those servers are in the teen age or lower. They don't understand the severity of their actions. But the big thing to note is even in the enterprise level, it doesn't matter, Boeing, whatever, you're still going to have to protect yourself in some aspects. So with that one in mind, let's jump on in. So I can't show you how to get to the logs, nor I can show you the logs itself. The reason why is each router it's a little bit different on how to get to the logs. Just look up a make and model, and that should tell you how to get to the logs. But after you get there, the logs itself again will probably look different. But with that, what you will see is the same IP address over and over and over. And again, we're not talking about the person trying to connect 1 time, 2 times, 10 times, whatever. We're talking about hundreds of times, thousands of times, whatever. So something like this is a blank obvious what's going on. So if you're seeing the same IP address over and over and over, then basically what's happening is the person is trying to do a DDoS attack. They're not trying to connect and do something. They're just trying to overload the system by trying to connect over and over and over and over and over. And this prevents other things from communicating, or it slows down the stuff and times out everything. So this is a major thing to note into itself. Now, as far as that goes, if you're dealing with a DDoS attack right now as a residential person, what should you do? First things first, and this is probably going to be the easiest, go into your browser, into the address bar, and put in 192.168.1.100, and that should take you to your modem. If it doesn't, try to figure out what your address is for your modem. Look up the make and model, and that should tell you your IP address for the modem. But some modems actually have the ability to request for a change of IP address from your ISP, your internet service provider. And what that'll do is it'll basically make it where your public IP address will completely change, and therefore you will not have the problem anymore. But with that one in mind, that's probably not going to be an option for many people, and you might not find a way to get into the modem itself. So what your other option is, and your only other option is to call up the ISP itself, the internet service provider, and tell them what's going on. Now, it's best to tell them the IP address that's attacking your stuff, but for the most part, they're probably not going to do anything into itself. Unless if you're losing money, and we're talking about a significant amount of money, nothing's probably going to happen, unfortunately, and that's just how things are. Unless if you're like, with a politician or whatever. But the fact of the matter is there's probably nothing going to be happening there. Even requesting a new IP address, there's probably nothing going to happen right there. So that's something to note. So with the downer out of the way, what should you do to hopefully protect yourself in the future? Note, if someone gets access to your public IP address, then you're screwed no matter which way you want to take a look at it. But if someone wants to go after a IP address that they can easily find, then what you need to use is a VPN, a virtual private network. I got videos on this. I'm assuming that you know what it is, so we're just going to skip ahead. Use a VPN or use a proxy. Try to use it on your router so all your traffic goes through there. Or if you're just worried about, like, say for example, if everybody on your network is, not into games, not a politician, not famous, not whatever, but you're the difference. You play video games on your computers, or you are famous, or you whatever. Well, in your computer, that's primarily where you're doing all your activities. Well, make sure you use a VPN on the computer, if not the router itself. And what would end up happening is the person who's playing a game or trying to attack in some form or fashion, they'll see the IP address of the VPN service. Why is this important? Well, the enterprise stuff that I was just talking about, and we'll be talking about in a second or two, what the fact is they will most likely have it, especially if it's a paid VPN. And that means that you not only have the protection of the VPN for other reasons, but you have the protection of the enterprise stuff that they are using to protect themselves. So someone's attacking whatever whatever VPN or proxy or whatever, and chances are is they're using some enterprise protection. Now let's say that the enterprise protection is not there or it doesn't hold up, which happens. Well, what you can do is just switch your IP address, depending on the VPNs, depending on how you do this, but it's that quick. Just do a request to switch, and it takes a second or two. So with that one in mind, you can make it where the person is tagging the VPN's IP address. The VPN is protecting itself with enterprise level stuff, and even if they get through, you can switch IP addresses like nothing, and as long as the person doesn't know your public IP address, then you don't really have problems there into itself. So that's something important to note into itself. So now let's go into one thing I forgot to mention, and I don't have a link up for it, so I can't show you, but there is products out there for home users that cost around the $2,500–3,000. One of them that comes to mind is Mushroom Truffle. It's a device and whatever. I'll leave a link down below to it, but we're talking about devices that cost about $3,000. So most people ain't going to be able to afford that. So I'm not going to get too any deeper into that. But if you're interested into it, Barnacules is a different YouTube channel. He uses it, and I'll just leave a link down below to it so you can check it out and see what you think about it if you can afford it. Let's get into the enterprise level. So one of the biggest things to do on an enterprise level is use services like CloudFlare if possible. Obviously have your hardware and whatever, but big thing to do is protect yourself on the network side of things. So how does CloudFlare work? And I use them for my site, the techreviewsandhelp.com, the job portfolio sites. I use the free service. But basically how they work is fairly simple. They act as a DNS, domain name server. So whenever someone wants to go to your websites, they will have to go through the CloudFlare's stuff. So how the system works is basically, if you type in techreviewsandhelp.com, then during the trip, the last little bits, it'll go through the CloudFlare for the DNS. If CloudFlare sees that your address is a known DDoS address, if it's known that a lot of DDoS attacks comes from it, if it's known that that this is a potential DDoS attack, then it will block it. It will just simply deny the service altogether. It will just say that the Tech Reviews and Help is not there at all. It's very important, because if it sees that someone's trying to connect to it, say 100 times within a matter of a second, then it's going to simply block the person altogether, and that it takes care of that. Or if it's a known bad address that's trying to do a DDoS, then it blocks them altogether and it stops that right there. Now, this is very, very important. This is one of the reasons why I'm personally thinking that a lot of the DDoS attacks are lessening, is not so much illegal, because a lot of people is doing it is well outside of whatever's jurisdiction. And the fact of the matter is yes, the Justice Department, especially in the United States, is really cracking down on people like this. But the fact of the matter is the people who are doing the attacks, they are blocking themselves from going to given sites. So let's say, for example, CloudFlare knows that your address is a DDoS address. Well, chances are is they are sharing information, hey, this is a known DDoS address, with other services. In return, other services are sharing the addresses back with CloudFlare or whatever it may be. So it's kind of like the credit stuff, where it's several different companies, but they're sharing certain information so they all can benefit from it. Now, I'm not saying that's what CloudFlare does, but I'm suspecting that that is the case, because that's just the wisest thing to do in this scenario. So what happens is it doesn't matter if Amazon is using CloudFlare. It doesn't matter if Amazon's using some other company. The fact is if you're blocked from one, you're blocked from all of them. That means you cannot go to Amazon at all, because you're a known DDoS attack. So even if you're just going there for legit reasons, you can't go there. So what happens is basically, if you're a known DDoS person, not only you have the justice to deal with, the Justice Department to deal with, you also got these companies to deal with. And then on top of that, it's very much resource intensive to do this type of attack. Now, keep in mind, go through here and check it out, whatever it may be, and feel free to check all that out. But the fact of the matter is there's a few other things you can do. Again, hardware wise, I don't really suggest a lot on the hardware side of things, mostly because once it gets down to that level, you have problems. You need to really try to prevent the attacks from going in through the network side. So for example, with CloudFlare or something like that, so before it even hits your servers, you don't even want that. But with that one in mind, note that there is some hardware out there. Just do a little bit of research and find a few things out there that's supposed to protect yourself, a few firewalls and a few other things that will help protect it. But it is also important to note, no matter what, the fact of the matter is before I forget, the CloudFlare, the one thing I do like about them is it doesn't matter if the attack has 1 million devices trying to attack you or one device. The price is the same across the board. So it's a big thing to note. So if you want to go with another company, note how big of an attack it will protect against for how much of the price. But again, with hardware stuff, just take a look at what's out there and whatever. But for the most part, you want to prevent it from even hitting your servers if possible. That's going to save you a lot more money at the end of the day, by the way. A lot less resources on your, a lot less use on your hardware and stuff like that. So it means less money going out the door from wear and tear and whatnot. So as far as that goes, hopefully that this helped you out in some way. And if you still got any questions, anything else, feel free to leave them down below, and I'll try to answer as quickly as possible. Leave a like, subscribe, share, and whatnot, and I'll see you next video. Hope you have a great day.